Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I have with me a very special guest again, Amy Johnson, who is a health coach, but also something that really relates to me and speaks in my lingo and dialect. So, how are you, Amy?
I'm good, thank you. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm great. It's so great to be speaking with you and to have you on as a guest. I initially thought we will talk about health and things that are from the professional side of your career, but we can talk about something else. But we'll start by you introducing yourself a little bit to the
Sure.
audience.
Yeah, so I'm based in New Mexico in the US, and like you said, I'm an integrative nutrition health coach, and I work specifically with people to help them heal their relationship to food and their body. So I struggled with disordered eating for a few years and just really struggled with that whole food and with being comfortable in my body. Just like years and years of my life, I struggled with that. So I started, and then I was also I'm also an artist. And so I've done,
Yeah,
and a writer. And so I've just like done all kinds of different things
yeah,
and kind of like always been searching for what to do that's going to feel good to me, but also make a living and also contribute to making the world a better place. um,
yes.
so yeah. So anyway, now I run my own business as a health coach, and yeah, and I love it.
Yeah, at least you weren't a disappointment to your parents and became an artist.
Well, yeah, no, that's
No, I'm
definitely
kidding.
an interesting
Yeah,
conversation. I think it's really interesting too how like health connects with being an artist, because I don't know, like it would be interesting to hear how it is in like the environment that you grew up in and where you live, but
yeah. Artists
definitely
are, yeah, generally considered as raving, mad, diseased, alcoholic. Yeah,
right.
all the usual suspects, shall we say?
Right,
Yes.
yeah, I mean that's how I grew up thinking of it that way too, and I think that that's like a really interesting conversation to have, about that,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like why you can't be a healthy, happy person and also make really interesting art,
yeah. So
which
we
I think
have.
you can.
Yeah, you can, but you have to be a little bit more on the normal side of the Nile, shall we say, than on the other side that nobody wants to talk about, and another religion that nobody wants to talk about. Uh, and I don't either. I don't profess to speak in the name of cultures that I don't understand, but I'm also not a liberal, shall we say. So I don't
Wait,
know
I don't
how.
understand what you mean. Sorry.
No, I don't profess to talk in the name of other cultures and religions, ones that I truly don't understand. So in that way, I'm kind of a liberal, but I'm not a liberal in other senses. Let's say, but we'll leave it at that. I'm sorry to open that door a little bit, but I will close it now. And I think we have a nice opening to talk about art and health, because I remember a great thesis that a great artist wrote, Edvard Munch, if you know the guy.
Hmm.
Um, he wrote a thesis concerning cigarettes and coffee, and
Uh-huh.
he basically tried to justify his excessive drinking of coffee and smoking cigarettes as a way of life, as a source of life. So, what do you think about that crutch that every artist needs for himself, or to justify making art and being able to function to make art.
Yeah. No, I think it's super interesting. I think that, I mean, personally, I think that everybody has trauma and has stuff that they go through. And so we all develop different coping mechanisms to be able to survive and to keep going in life, right? And and I think a lot of, I mean, yeah, I don't know for sure, right? But I do know like myself, and I know the artists that I've been around because I've been hanging out with artists for quite a few years now in my adult life. And I know that a lot of people who are drawn to making art and who are really creative, you know, tend to, I think, have some trauma in their lives. And I mean, but I also think that everybody does. But anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think we all develop coping mechanisms, and those can sometimes take the form of substances like, you know, tobacco or alcohol or coffee or, you know, or like something more intense, a more intense addiction, or like in my case, struggling. I mean, I also smoked cigarettes for a lot of years and drank too much alcohol, and but also struggled with disordered eating, which I think of as a coping mechanism. Um, so yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that, to what it sounds like he was saying of like, I have to like use this stuff to be able to like keep on doing my work and be able to like keep moving forward in life. And I think that there's like, at least I grew up with kind of this myth around like, well, I guess I think it's a myth now, but I'm interested to hear what you think. But I grew up with this idea that like you have to be suffering in order to make good art. Like you have to be. And so because of that, it's a little bit scary to think about letting go of that suffering, you know? It's like, cuz what if I stop suffering and I actually like feel good, what if like what if I stop being able to make good art, you know, which is like the last thing you want. um
Yes. Yes.
and so yeah, I think that that's really interesting, but yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay. Um, I'll try to pick it up. I'll try to. Um, and say that I have thought that once I get rid, I don't know if I had something called as superstitions or stuff like this, but um, maybe I had maybe concerns. I don't know. If I stop doing something that I have been doing habitually and I will stop, and then my art will suffer as a cause of it. I don't know. It's a sort of a superstition that keeps you on your feet as an artist, but it also brings you down as a person, as a human being. So I don't know. It is an art in itself to be able to think about making art as an artist, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes any sense.
I
Um,
think so.
I think I asked this question to a lot of people, but I don't know how you will respond to it. But do you think there is some kind of divine inspiration that has to do something, maybe has to do something with the health aspect of being an
Ooh.
artist? Maybe believing, not a narcissistic person, but truly believe that you were granted some kind of there was some kind of divine intervention that led you to be able to start a new artwork or have a new idea pop into your head. So what do you think about this kind of crazy idea, if it even makes sense?
It makes sense. I love this question. Yeah, I think that's so interesting because I think something that I've been learning about and like understanding about in my own experience for the past few years is, so I've been trying to understand my own spirituality, of course, like most of my life, and I've been meditating and really trying to like connect with my own intuition and my own inspiration, which feels to me like it's not just when I feel it the most is when I feel the most connected. So, for somebody else, it could be connected to like a specific deity. For me, it's like feeling really connected to everything, like connected to kind of like energy in the universe.
Mm.
So it's interesting because it's like the more connected I feel to something bigger, the more I feel like that's kind of the deeper that is within myself, and the more connected to myself I feel. But something that I think is really interesting that I've learned over the past few years is that I think I used to think about that as something separate from my body. Like I used to think like spirituality or like feeling, your intuition or inspiration or divine guidance, like however you think about it, I used to think of that as like separate from my body. And the way that I understand it now is like it's in my body. Like that's where I experience it. Like my intuition isn't like hanging out up here somewhere, it's in here. And so I think in terms of like the conversation around health, I think for me being able to feel connected to my body and feel safe and like healthy and feel good in my body actually allows me to kind of like connect and tap into that better. Whereas I think before I used to be afraid to, well, I think I used to think it was coming from some kind of like mysterious external thing that I didn't really have control over. So it was very scary to like try to address any of it. It's kind of like, ooh, let me just like tiptoe around and hope like not hope it kind of like graces
Yes.
me with, right? And like, and even with like using substances, or even like for me, I think my like I struggled with depression a lot. I mean, it's still something that I kind of like manage and deal with. And I used to think like my depression helped me make art. And like
That's
actually, I kind of think it just made it, I think like who I am is what makes me be able to make art, and the way that I like experience the world and all that. And like depression actually just made it kind of harder,
yeah.
and like, so I kind of went on I kind of lost my train of thought there. I derailed. So I don't know
No,
if I
it's
answered
fine.
your
It's fine. I derail much harder than you. I got to say because I don't know. I grasp into to every little thought I have in my head, and that's something that I don't know. I don't want to call myself an artist. I don't think I'm worthy of that title because to call yourself an artist is the height of hubris. But actually, being an artist and being named an artist by other people, is the real grandeur, shall we say, of a person. So,
question.
what do you think about trying to get inspiration by eating more, sleeping, um, trying to gather your thoughts, to take time for yourself? I don't understand these things, but I'm just throwing all those different tags so you can spark up the discussion.
Oops. Yeah, I think I think it's like, I mean, I feel like kind of what you're talking about is like taking care of your body and your health, and like how that could actually help with creativity or inspiration, right? Does that sound right?
Yes, it depends. I don't know. It depends.
Yeah, I mean, I think the older, I think when I was younger, depression or like, struggling with addiction or just like suffering and like not feeling good, like that to me, see, I had this romanticized idea about it because I was like, that's what happens when you're an
Yes.
artist. Like if you're going to be an artist, that's part of it,
Yes.
right? And so, and I think when I was younger, I could, it, it was, I don't know. I think what I'm trying to say is as I've gotten older, I've realized like I actually like it's not sustainable. That's not sustainable. And so if I'm actually going to live, if I actually want to make a lot of artwork and be a creative person for a long time, I have to take care of my body and my mental health or I'm going to die. And then I'm not going to be able to
Yes.
make art.
So,
and
yes.
and also like I think I just the older I got, the less the more like real depression became, and it was like this is actually not something that I feel romantic about anymore. This is actually just like really awful and like scary.
Mm.
and 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 I know a lot of creative people take their own lives. Like I like that's a reality that I've seen around me, and I'm like I think I just, as I got older, I was like, I just need to, like, that actually isn't working for me anymore. Like, it's actually not helping me make art. It's like, it feels debilitating. And so, yeah. And so I think I kind of started off on this path of figuring out how to take care of my body and started to realize that actually, like I was saying before, like my intuition, my creativity, it lives in my body. So if I, take care of my body, I'm not in pain, it's much easier actually for me to like make time to connect with myself, to be interested in different subjects, like to have the time to be like, ooh, that's interesting. Let me go research that, or let me talk to this person, or let me go see that, and like create space and time for being in the studio and working. That's so much easier if my body feels good and relatively, like it's not like I wake up every morning feeling
Yes.
amazing all day long, but like if it's like for a while I was just like really suffering. And like I know a lot of people, like if you're in pain physically or psychologically all day, like that makes it hard to make,
Mm.
I think that
Yeah.
makes it harder to make art.
Yeah, it makes it harder, but there are exceptions in the history of art. When I say art, not many people know this, but people think art, they think paintings, they think sculpting and nothing else. But we are
Yeah,
talking about everything when we
yeah,
say art as an artist. As artists, we say architecture and music and literature and theater and all the arts,
yeah,
dancing, singing, yes, all the classical arts at least. That's the starting point of the discussion. But I think there are there are exceptions that are unfortunately to that theory that artists should be sound in mind and in body in order to create. Um, so, do you think that in the world, the whirlwind of of let's say the bipolars, they have the paranoia and the psychosis. They have those, not the paranoia, sorry. They have the elation. They have the elation, yes, and they have the psychosis. They have the complete meltdown, the depression. Yes, they have those two polar opposites. So, uh, can you tell? Is there any evidence from where not nor you or me are very knowledgeable about nutrition? I think I don't know, but about the studies of nutrition and bacteria influencing the moods of people.
Mm.
So can we're not psychologists, but can it affect the way we eat, the diet, the foods we consume, affect the way we feel and the way we behave?
Yeah, I mean, to address the first thing that you said, I would just say, like, I do agree with you that there are tons of examples of artists who have made amazing work, who maybe have not had fabulous health, right? Like,
Yes.
that's totally true. I totally agree with that. And I think, so yeah, I'm not saying that it's not possible. I think it's very, very possible, and it happens all the time. I just wonder how how their lives would be different, or how, and it's just it's just me wondering. And then for myself, I had to figure out, how am I gonna stay alive and like do life and also make artwork.
Yes.
So anyway, but in terms of the second part, from studying nutrition, and I studied gut health specifically, actually, after I did my training in integrative nutrition, I did some advanced courses in gut health. And it's super interesting. It's definitely kind of the new, I would say that it's the direction that like medicine and nutrition is going, is understanding the gut and the bacteria and the microbiome. So from what, and like I'm not a medical professional, like you said, but from what I understand and from what I've learned is that nutrition, what we eat, can definitely affect our mood. So anxiety and depression can definitely be affected by our diet, like our nutrition. I'm not gonna say that I think you can solve bipolar by eating certain foods. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I think that medicine is there for a reason, and it has a very good place. But I do really believe that the foods that we eat and the state of our gut health does affect our mood, because over 90% of serotonin that we produce in our body is actually produced in the gut. And serotonin is like,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
a hormone that is mood related.
Yes.
And same with, yeah, same with, there's a lot of hormone production is very, very entwined with gut health. And so absolutely it can affect our mood, for sure.
Yeah. So, what do you think? This is something that doesn't have to do exactly with health, um, but maybe it's something that has to do with something you said at the beginning about trying to make the world a little bit better. Or yes, um, what do you think that art should strive to do? Because
Mm,
I, I've talked to a lot of artists from Israel, from across the world. They talk about themselves in their art. They're not selfish. They are doing it. They are doing it for themselves. Um, and in the process, if the consequences, or let's say the the side effects is helping someone through their day while looking at their art,
mm,
maybe they will accept that kind of argument, because artists, even though they are very emotional, they are still um, scientifically minded, because they have to be. The artist has to be also a scientist and a chemist and an engineer and all those things. So what do you think that the artist's job in this world, what should the artist inspire to be and
mm.
inspire others to do?
Um, yeah, I think, I guess the way that I have come to see it is that artists tell the truth. I think, and some artists make work that's really, really personal, and so they're telling the truth from their own personal, like internal experience, or they're telling the truth about their, family or something like really personal. And then some artists are more interested in like tackling social, bigger kind of like social issues. But I think it's all, I don't know if you're familiar with the phrase, the personal is the political, or the
Yes,
personal.
I know.
Yeah,
I
I
studied
think
it.
about that.
Yeah, I took a feminist course from a professor who didn't like me because I was too, let's say, I brought my opinions to bear in the classroom, and she
Hmm.
frowned upon it. But we are good friends today. Yeah. I read a
Yeah,
lot of feminist textbooks since then, and I'm
yeah,
starting to realize more and more about the movement and its history. And I think there are a lot of things that are good, a lot of things that are bad, like everything else. So you should take it with a pinch of salt, shall we say?
right,
Like everything else. Yeah.
right. Yeah. So, yeah, so I think in terms of what are artists' role in society, I think, it could change, but right now, the way I think about that is truth tellers, um, you know, mirrors kind of, for understanding the world, understanding society, understanding ourselves. And for me personally, the value that I feel that I get from looking at art and reading and seeing, all the different things is I feel, it's like I feel not alone. Like I feel like it's like someone else is out there like doing something, saying something that I can relate to, or pointing out something that makes sense to me, that I'm like, oh, I'm not crazy after all. I've always thought that, but here's this other person pointing it out, type thing. So I
Yeah,
think it's
there's another person who is even crazier. Yeah, that's the
right.
beauty of it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I would say it's, what you mentioned before about other artists you've talked to and how they're sort of making it for themselves, but it also could help someone else. I think is sort of this, yeah, because I think about a lot of times I'm like, yes, I'm making art because I feel compelled. I feel like a drive to do it. So it's my drive and I'm doing it because I feel like I need to. But then there's this other part that comes after where I want to share it with other people. Like
Yes.
I don't want to just keep it in my house and I'm the only one who ever sees it. I want
Yes.
other people to see it, right? So
Your cats also can see it. So.
yeah, I mean my dog, yeah. But it's like I have this very strong desire to share it with other people and for other people to see it. And of course it feels good when other people say how it, oh, this made me, I love this, or this is beautiful, or this made me feel blah, blah, blah thing. Like, of course that feels good. So I think there is something in many of us, I'm not going to say all art, some artists might be perfectly content to make art in their room and never leave and never have anyone ever see it. But
Yeah.
there's many of us, I think, want to share it with other people. So there's something there that I think is about connection and about
Yes.
wanting to change, wanting to either like connect and help other people, or wanting to change things, wanting to change something that we see in the world that isn't right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Famously, you know that you know this. I know for sure that Emily Dickinson kept all of her poems in the desk drawer and
Mm,
never showed it to almost anyone. Maybe
yeah.
her rich uncle or something like this. But yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I find that really interesting because I've always been driven by this like desire to share it with other people. Like I don't know if there was some rule that came down from like the sky that was like you can make art but you're not allowed to let anybody else see it. I don't know if
Mm,
I would.
yeah. Because, I believe I'm from the school of thought that says that once you make an artwork, it's no longer yours. It's
Mm-hmm.
the entire world and generations of people. There's something that you probably know this synchronic time and the diachronic time. The synchronic time is the present. We are talking in the present. And the diachronic time, it's all time infinitum,
Mm.
ad infinitum, until the
Okay.
end. So many people will see, allegedly or presumably, will see your art until the end of time because you've made that thing. And
Right.
I think, I think I'm from the school of thought that says, not a modern school of thought or something like this, but something that is very personal to me. I think that I just cast away anything that I do. I try to make it to perfection, and then I totally get rid of it in my head. Of
Mm.
course,
Yeah.
that's the thing that makes me want to do more, because I got rid of something old and I want something new.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think that's interesting because that's always struck me as complicated when it comes to like the practical part of like trying to get shows or trying to get your work out there, because by the time I finish a project, I'm kind of done with it and I don't want to spend a bunch of time
Yes.
telling people about it and trying to get people to show it. And but that's the way you have to do it. It's like if I know artists who have been showing the same work, has been getting them traction for years and years. And like
Yes. Yes.
there is something about kind of, you have to, I almost feel like in order to be successful, like commercially or whatever, financially as an artist, you have to sort of accept that like daily grind part of it, where
Yeah.
you're like, even though I'm kind of over this, I have to like
Yeah.
still be trying to do something with it. And that's always been hard for me. I've always been
Yeah.
like, I'm done, I'm ready for the next project.
Yes, it's vicious to see a comic go on stage and tell the joke twice in 10 minutes. It's it touches on something very deep in the human experience. I think that
Hmm.
the human experience, we want the new, we want to expose, we are attracted to something new, and that enters our consciousness. And when we see something that is being copied over and over and over again, like when you see the Mona Lisa everywhere being plastered and on every wall, on every street of Europe and every continent, you say no. Just say no. You have to go. You have to go
Hmm.
and see it for yourself. Not when the crowds are huddling around the picture, which is like this. Everyone, this is the size. So just for you guys to have a little bit of a perspective, this is the size of the Mona Lisa, like this. So I don't know why people flock to see it from all over the world, but La Gioconda has become a classic, world heritage, shall we say? So I think we had a lovely conversation, and I hope to do one that's only on art and artists, but health is also very, very, very important. Very important. So thank you so much, Amy.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoyed talking to you. I could talk
Yeah,
about this stuff forever.
yeah, it's my pleasure. Me too. Me too. Yeah. So thank you so much, and bye.
All right. Thanks. Take care.